everybody. In this video, we're going to be looking at the pairwise comparison method to determine the winner of a preference vote. So take 3 deep breaths and let's make this math easy. Okay, so in the pairwise comparison method, we're going to be comparing each pair of candidates, and the winner of each pairwise comparison gets 1 point. And then if there's a tie between a pair of candidates, then each candidate will get half a point, and the person with the most points wins. So the basic idea of this is that you're looking for which candidates would win if you only had 2 candidates in the race or in the vote. And the reason you can do this is because with the way that preference voting works, you know which candidate they prefer over another one, even if it's not their first choice. Like, for example, these 342 people prefer Dawn over Key, even though L is their very first choice. So the first step to doing this method is to make a list of all of the possible pairs, because you will be giving 1 point per pair, and you want to make sure that you have all of the possible pairs listed. So to do this, I would recommend doing it very methodically. So the way that I like to do it is you can list each candidate and all of the pairs that they're involved in. So for L can be paired with Dawn, so that will be one of the pairs we look at. And L could also be paired with Key. And those are the only 2 pairs that L is involved in. Then for Dawn can be paired with L, which we've already written here. And then Dawn can also be paired with Key. And so those are all of the pairs that involve Dawn. And then for Key could be paired with L, which we've already written here, or Key could be paired with Dawn, which we've written there. And so these 3 pairs are the 3 possible ways that you can pair up the candidates in this vote. And then the way that you determine the winner is you look at each pair and determine which candidate wins each pair, and then give them points based on that. So for this first pair, where we're doing L versus Dawn, these 342 votes are going to go to L because L is their first choice and Dawn is their second choice. So L is going to get 342 points. These 214 votes will go towards Dawn because they prefer Dawn over L, because Dawn is first choice and L is third choice. So Dawn will get 214. And then these 298 points in the pair of L versus Dawn, those are going to go to Dawn because Dawn is second choice and L is third choice. And so Dawn gets 298 points. And when I add up these points, Dawn ends up with 512 points, while L only gets 342. And so that means that Dawn is the winner of that pairwise vote. And then you do the same process for all of the pairs. So if I do L versus Key, the 342 votes will go to L because she's their first choice. The 214 votes will go to Key because they prefer Key over L. Even though Dawn was their first choice, when you're only looking at L versus Key, Key would be the first choice out of those 2 candidates. And then the 298 votes go to Key because he was the first choice. And so when I add these up, L gets 342 and Key gets 512. And so Key would be the winner of that pairwise vote. Now for this last pair, we'll basically go through the same process again. So Dawn gets 342 points. Because he was second choice while Key was third choice. And then the 214 votes will also go to Dawn. And then Key will get those 298 votes. And when I add this up, 342 plus 214 equals 556, and Key gets 298. And so that means that Dawn is the winner of that pair. So once you've looked at the winners of each pair, then you determine the winner of the overall vote by counting up their points. So we have Elle, Dawn, and Key, and Elle won 0 of the pairs, and so she gets 0 points. Dawn won 2 of the pairs, and so he gets 2 points, and Key won 1 of the pairs, so he gets 1 point. And so in this case, Dawn would be the winner of this preference vote. And that's how you do the pairwise comparison method. And in this example, we didn't have any ties, but sometimes these two numbers will end up being the same. And in that case, both of the candidates get a half a point. And so that's how you deal with it if there's a tie. And that's how you would do the pairwise comparison method. So let's do one more example just to look at how this goes, and then I'll let you guys try it on your own. So in this example, we have 4 different types of breakfasts that we are looking at. So we have pancakes, waffles, eggs and toast, and cereal. So if we're doing a pairwise vote, we want to list out all of the possible pairs. So I'm going to start off with pancakes and write out all of the pairs I could have with pancakes. So I could have pancakes versus waffles. That would be one pair. I could have pancakes versus eggs and toast. And I could have pancakes versus cereal. So those 3 pairs are all of the pairs that involve pancakes. Then I'm going to go through and list all of the pairs that could involve waffles. So I have waffles versus pancakes, which I listed here. I have waffles versus eggs and toast. And I also have waffles versus cereal. And those 3 are all of the possible pairs that involve waffles. And then for my next one, I say eggs and toast could be paired with pancakes, which I've already written. It could be paired with waffles, which I've also already written. Or I could have eggs and toast versus cereal. And then for the last option of cereal could be paired with pancakes, or waffles, or eggs and toast, and I've already listed all of those pairs. So I have 6 total pairs that I need to check. And I'm going to go through and calculate the winner of each pair individually to find the overall winner. And so to do this, I would go through each column and determine the winner for the pair that I'm looking at. So if I'm looking at pancakes versus waffles, I would say these 5 votes are going to go to pancakes because pancakes is first and waffles are second. These 10 votes are going to go to waffles because waffles is first and pancakes are fourth. These 4 votes will go to pancakes because pancakes is second while waffles is fourth. These 6 votes will also go to pancakes because pancakes is second and waffles are third. And these 3 votes will go to waffles. These 9 votes will go to pancakes. And then these 13 votes will go to pancakes. And notice that on that 13 vote, pancakes and waffles were the last choice, but the 13 votes went to pancakes because pancakes was a higher choice than waffles were. And so that's how you would go through and assign all of the votes. And if you want to, you can go and add up all of these numbers. So, you'd get like 10 plus 3 is 13. And then if you go 5 plus 4 plus 6 plus 9 plus 13, that gives you 37. And so that tells you that pancakes is going to be the winner of that pair. But sometimes it's also obvious that one of them is going to win. Like in this case, you wouldn't necessarily have to add up the pancake numbers to know that pancakes is going to win that particular pair. So you don't always have to do this step if it's really obvious that one number is going to be bigger than the other, because you're just trying to figure out which one has the most. So that would be how you do that first pair. Then for the second pair, these 5 votes are going to go to pancakes. These 10 votes are going to go to eggs and toast. These 4 votes are going to go to pancakes. These 6 votes will also go to pancakes. These 3 votes will go to eggs and toast. These 9 votes will go to pancakes. And these 13 votes will go to eggs and toast. And this might be a close number, so I'm going to go ahead and add them up. So 10 plus 3 plus 13 is going to give me 26. And then 5 plus 4 plus 6 plus 9 is going to give me 24. So in this case, since eggs and toast got a couple more votes, they're going to be the winner of that pair. If both of these had added up to 25, though, then each one of those would have got a half a point. But in this case, eggs and toast are going to get the whole point in that pair. And then basically you just keep on doing this. So for pancakes versus cereal, these 5 votes will go to pancakes. These 10 votes will go to cereal. These 4 votes will also go to cereal, and so will these 6. These 3 votes, since pancakes is 3rd and cereal is 4th, those 3 votes will go to pancakes. These 9 votes will go to pancakes, and these 13 votes, it looks like, will go to cereal. And in this case, I could add up my numbers and I could say 10 plus 4 plus 6 plus 13 is 33, and 5 plus 3 is 8, plus 9 would give you 17. And so cereal will be the winner. But that's also pretty obvious because 10 plus 4 plus 6 plus 13 is going to be a bigger number than 5 plus 3 plus 9. So cereal would be the winner of that pair. Then if we look at waffles versus eggs and toast, these 5 votes will go to waffles. These 10 votes in the next column will also go to waffles. These 4 votes will go to eggs and toast. These 6 votes will go to waffles. These 3 votes will go to waffles. Or no, sorry, those ones go to eggs and toast, my bad. Those 3 votes will go there. And then these 9 votes will go to waffles. And these 13 votes will go to eggs and toast. And when I add those numbers up, 4 plus 3 plus 13 is going to give me 20. And then 5 plus 10 plus 9, or plus 6 plus 9 is going to be 21, 30, I think. So that will be 30, which means that waffles will be the winner of that pair. For this pair, where I'm looking at waffles versus cereal, these 5 votes will go to waffles because waffles is higher than cereal. So that gives me 5. These 10 votes will also go to waffles. These 4 votes will go to cereal, as will these 6 votes. These 3 votes will go to waffles. These 9 votes will go to cereal. And these 13 votes will also go to cereal. And when you add these up, 5 plus 10 plus 3 is 18, and 4 plus 6 plus 9 plus 13 is going to give me, I think, 32 for that. And so cereal would be the winner of that pair. And then for my last one, where I'm doing eggs versus cereal, the 5 votes in this first column will go to eggs. The 10 votes will go to cereal. The 4 votes will go to cereal. And the 6 votes will go to cereal. And then these 3 votes will go to eggs and toast. The 9 votes will go to cereal. And these 13 votes will go to eggs and toast. And if we add these up, 5 plus 3 plus 13 is going to give me 21. And then 10 plus 4 plus 6 plus 9 is going to give me 29. And so cereal would win that pair. And so once you found the winners of all of the different pairs, then you find the overall winner. So we have 4 options. We have pancakes, waffles, eggs and toast, and cereal. And in these pairwise votes, pancakes won, looks like one of the pairs, this first one here. And waffles, it looks like also won one of the pairs. Eggs and toast won one of the pairs. And cereal won 3 of the pairs. And so that means that cereal is going to be the overall winner of this vote. So that's basically how the pairwise comparison method works. And if you have a hard time figuring out where like each vote is going to go to in a certain pair, one easy way you can do it is just to look down the preference list and notice which one comes first. So for example, in this first one, if I was doing waffles versus eggs and toast, as I go down the preference list, waffles shows up before eggs and toast does. And so waffles would be the one that would get those 5 votes in the pair of waffles versus eggs and toast. But if it was pancakes versus waffles, pancakes would get the vote because pancakes comes before waffles. So that's how you would do this example of the pairwise comparison method. And one of the most important things when you're doing the pairwise comparison method is to make sure that you really get all of the possible pairs. Because if you don't, then one of your points will be missing, which could change your final answer. So I mentioned that I like to do it by listing all of my pairs very methodically by saying how many things can pancakes be paired with, how many things can waffles be paired with, and making sure that I have all of the pairs in that way. But another way you can also do it is by using something that we learned in the graph theory unit, which is the idea of a complete graph. So if you were looking for the number of possible pairs in a 3-choice vote, with options A, B, and C. So this would be like that first example we did with Don, Key, and L. The pairs could be represented by edges between these vertices. Because I could say, okay, well, option A could be paired with option B or with option C. And then option B could be paired with option A, which we already have listed, or it could also be paired with option C. And so the edges in this complete graph represent your 3 pairs. You would have A versus B, A versus C, and B versus C. And those would be your 3 pairs. And you could also do this with a 4-choice vote. So you could say if I have option A, B, C, and D, option A could be paired with B, C, and D. Option B could be paired with A, C, or D. And option C could be paired with B, A, or D. And then same thing, D is already paired with A, B, and C. And that forms that complete graph. And so since there's 6 edges, there would be 6 pairs that you need to check. So, you'd have A versus B, which is represented by this pair or this edge right here. You would have A versus C, which is this one. And then A versus D. And then you'd have B versus A, which we already have. You'd have B versus C. And B versus D. And then for C, you'd have C versus A, C versus B, which we already have both of those listed. And then you'd also have C versus D. And so there's 6 pairs that you would need to check in a 4-choice vote. And that is accurate because if we look back at the one that we just did, you can see that we have 6 pairs that we checked when we were looking at the favorite breakfast example. So that idea of using a complete graph to help you find your pairs may be helpful if you have a hard time systematically figuring out the number of pairs that you have. So why don't you guys go ahead and try these 2 examples on your own. Pause this video, figure out which one you think is the winner in both cases, and then restart this video to see how I would solve them. Okay, so in this first example, when you do the pairwise comparison, the sneakers option is going to win 2 of the possible pairs, and the boots option will win a half of a pair, and the flip-flops option will also win a half of a pair. And so the winner in this case would be the sneakers option. In the second example, TV wins 2 of the pairs in the pairwise comparison. Sleeping wins 1 of the pairs. Reading a book wins 2 of the pairs. And exercising wins 1 of the pairs. And so the winner in this pairwise comparison would be TV and reading a book, because both of those tied for the highest number of pairs that they won. And so those would be the answers for these 2 questions. If you didn't get those same results, you can skip ahead to the timestamp shown on the screen to see how I solved each of these problems. Okay, so in this first example, if I'm listing out my possible pairs, I could do this with a complete graph. So I have 3 options. I have sneakers, flip-flops, and boots. And sneakers will need to be paired with boots and with flip-flops. So I'll have sneakers versus boots as one of my pairs, and I'll have sneakers versus flip-flops as my other pair. And then boots is already paired with sneakers, but it also needs to be paired with flip-flops. So I'll have boots versus flip-flops. And flip-flops is already paired with both of the other options. And so these 3 pairs are all of my possible pairs. So to list out the winners of each pair, I need to calculate them one by one. So if I'm looking at sneakers versus boots, these 5 people who voted in column 1 prefer sneakers as their first choice and boots is their third choice. So that means that those 5 votes will go to sneakers. These 3 votes will also go to sneakers because sneakers are their first choice. And these 7 votes will also go to sneakers because sneakers, even though they're not the first choice, they are higher than boots. And so those 7 votes will go to sneakers. This 1 vote will go to boots. These 6 votes and these 4 votes will also go to boots. And so sneakers versus boots works out like this, and you end up with 15 points for sneakers. Sneakers. And then boots gets 11 points. And so that means that sneakers are the winner of that particular pair. For my next pair, if I'm doing sneakers versus flip-flops, again, these 5 and 3 votes will go to sneakers because both of those columns voted for sneakers first. These 7 votes and this 1 vote will go to flip-flops because those are the first choice. And then these 6 votes will go to sneakers because even though boots are the first choice, we're not looking at boots. We're only looking at sneakers versus flip-flops. And as I look down, I see that sneakers come before flip-flops. So those 6 votes will go to sneakers. And then these 4 votes, if I go down, those will go to flip-flops because flip-flops are a higher preference than sneakers are. And so when I add up those numbers, if I do 5 plus 3 plus 6, that gives me 14 points. 7 plus 1 plus 4 gives me 12 points. And so that means that sneakers win those ones. And actually at this point, we already know that sneakers are going to win because sneakers have 2 points so far, and we only have 3 pairs. So they're going to win the overall vote. But we'll go ahead and figure out who wins this last pair just to be thorough. So if I'm doing boots versus flip-flops, these 5 votes are going to go to flip-flops because flip-flops come before boots. So we have 5 votes there. These 3 votes will go to boots. The 7 votes will go to flip-flops, as will the 1 vote, because in that case, flip-flops were the first choice, so they're obviously the most preferred. And then these 6 and 4 votes will go to boots. And when we add these up, 3 plus 6 plus 4 gives me 13. 5 plus 7 plus 1 also gives me 13. And so in this case, this would be an example of one where these each get a half of a point. It doesn't end up making a difference in the final answer, but that's how you would calculate those points. So to figure out how many points each category gets, sneakers won 2 of the pairs, so it gets a score of 2. Boots won a half of a pair, so they get a half a point. and flip-flops also got a half a point. And so in this case, the sneakers would be the winner. On this example, we have 4 choices. So we're going to have a 4-way complete graph, if you like using the complete graph method of finding the pairs. So we have TV, sleeping, reading a book, and exercising as our potential activities for free time. And to list out all of our pairs, we need to make sure that we include all of the possible pairs. So the first pair would be TV versus sleeping. So that's represented by this edge in the complete graph. We also need to do TV versus exercising and TV versus reading a book. So that's going to give us 3 pairs. So we have TV versus sleeping, TV versus exercising, and TV versus reading a book. So we have those 3 pairs that are related to TV. And then sleeping needs to be paired with TV, which we've already got. It also needs to be paired with reading a book. So we've got sleeping versus reading a book and sleeping versus exercise. So those are all of the possible pairs that involve sleeping. Then exercise can be paired with TV, which we've already got. It can be paired with sleeping, which we've already got. And it can also be paired with reading a book. So we've got sleeping versus reading a book. And then reading a book can be paired with TV, which we already have. It can be paired with sleeping, which we already have. And it can be paired with exercise. This should have been an exercise. It can be paired with reading a book. And so these would be our 6 possible pairs of what you could do in a free time activity. So to figure out the winner of each pair, we just go through each column. So these 5 people voted for TV over sleeping, so that's going to go to TV. These 3 people voted for sleeping over TV, so that's going to go to sleeping. These 8 people voted for TV over sleeping, as did these 9 people. Even though TV and sleeping were the 3rd and 4th choices, TV is still higher for those 9 people. So 9 is going to go to TV, and then these 4 votes will go to sleeping. And when you add these up, sleeping gets 7 points, and TV gets 5 plus 8 is 13, plus 9 is going to be 22. So TV wins that pair. Then for the next one, again, these 5 votes will go to TV, because if you're comparing TV and exercise, TV is higher in that case. For these 3 people, TV is also higher, so we're going to have 3 points there. These 8 people, TV is also higher. For these 9 people, exercise is higher than TV, so 9 is going to go to exercise. And these 4 votes are also going to go to exercise. And when you add this up, 9 plus 4 is 13, 5 plus 3 is 8, plus 8 is 16. And so that pair's point is going to go towards TV. Then for our next one, if we have TV versus reading a book, these 5 votes are going to go to TV. These 3 votes are going to go to reading a book because they'd rather read a book than watch TV. These 8 votes will go to TV. These 9 votes will go towards reading a book. And these 4 votes will also go towards reading a book. And when you add these up, you get 13 and 16, where the book wins that particular pair. And then for the next pair, where we're comparing sleeping versus reading a book, these 5 people, if you go down, would rather sleep than read a book. And so that means that the 5 is going to go towards the sleeping category. These 3 people would also rather sleep than read a book. And so would these 8 people, because sleeping and reading a book are 3rd and 4th choices, but sleeping is the 3rd choice. And so that's going to be 8 points for that one. Then these 9 people would rather read a book, and so would these 4 people. And so when we compare these, 5 plus 3 is 8, plus 8 is 16, 9 plus 4 is 13. And so that pair is won by sleeping. Then for the next one, if we're comparing sleep versus exercise, these 5 votes are going to sleep. These 3 votes are also going to sleep. These 8 votes are going to exercise. These 9 votes are also going to exercise, and so are these 4. And when I add up these numbers, 5 plus 3 is 8, and 8 plus 9 plus 4 is going to give me 21, I think. Yeah, that looks right. And so exercise is going to be the winner in that case. And then for this last pair, if I'm comparing exercising versus reading a book, these 5 people in the first column would rather read a book. These 3 people would also rather read a book. These 8 people would rather exercise. These 9 people would rather read a book. And these 4 people would rather exercise. And when I add those up, I get 12 points for exercise, and 8 plus 9 is 17 points for reading a book. And so reading a book wins that pair. So to find the overall winner, we're going to list out all of our options. So we have TV, sleeping, reading a book, and exercising. And out of all of the pairs, TV won 2 of the pairs, sleeping won 1 of the pairs, reading a book won 2 of the pairs, and exercising won 1 of the pairs. And so this would be an example of one where the final answer is a tie, because both TV and reading a book both won 2 of the pairs in our pairwise comparison. And so that's how you would do this example. So I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know.